Join me as I dive deep into America's untold story and see if I can uncover some mind-blowing facts that you won't believe. America's history is so much more than what we learn in school or see in movies. There's a richness and diversity to its story that often goes unnoticed, and that's exactly what I want to explore today. We all think we know American history, but the truth is, there are so many common misconceptions or overlooked events that deserve way more attention. For example, did you know that the Pilgrims weren't the first Europeans to settle in what is now the United States? That title actually belongs to the Vikings, who established a settlement in present-day Canada around 1000 AD. Take the story of the Native American civilizations that flourished long before Columbus stepped foot on the continent. These were sophisticated societies with their own systems of government, architecture, and agriculture, but we rarely hear about them in the mainstream narrative. Or what about the role of African Americans in the Revolutionary War, fighting for their freedom and the freedom of their people? The textbooks often gloss over the fact that the founding fathers weren't always as noble as we're led to believe. Many of them owned slaves, and some even had children with them. This complexity, this nuance, is often missing from our understanding of American history. Let's talk about some specific examples of these untold stories. Take the Radium Girls, a group of female factory workers who contracted radiation poisoning from painting watch faces with glow-in-the-dark paint. Their struggles led to major reforms in labor laws, but their story has largely been forgotten. Or the Zoot Suit Riots, a series of violent clashes between Mexican-American youths and American servicemen in Los Angeles during World War II. This was a time of great social change and upheaval, but it's rarely mentioned in our history books. Then there's the incredible story of Madam C.J. Walker, one of the wealthiest African-American women of her time. She built an empire of beauty products and salons, but her legacy extends far beyond that. She was a philanthropist, a civil rights activist, and a champion of women's empowerment. But the most astonishing story, the one that really challenges our perceptions of American history, is the tale of the Tulsa Race Massacre. In 1921, a white mob destroyed the thriving African-American community of Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, killing hundreds and displacing thousands. It was one of the worst incidents of racial violence in American history, and yet it's been largely erased from our collective memory. What if I told you the story of America is not just about a nation, but a dream of freedom, innovation, and resilience? From indigenous cultures to a thriving democracy, America's journey is filled with struggles, triumphs, and transformation. Today, we're diving deep into the history of America, exploring how it became the nation we know today. Stay with us until the end for lessons that can inspire all of us in our own lives. The United States of America, a country known for its power, progress, and perseverance. But how did it all begin? The story of America spans thousands of years, from the lives of its indigenous peoples to the arrival of European settlers, through revolutions, wars, and innovations that changed the course of history. Segment 1, the indigenous era long before European explorers set foot on the continent, North America was home to diverse and thriving indigenous cultures. Tribes such as the Navajo, Cherokee, and Iroquois lived off the land, developed rich traditions, and built civilizations. From the complex cities of the Mississippian culture to the nomadic tribes of the Great Plains, these communities shaped the land long before it became America. Unfortunately, the arrival of Europeans in the late 15th century marked the beginning of a devastating period for these indigenous peoples. Disease, war, and displacement would decimate their populations, and their history would be largely overshadowed by the new settlers. Segment 2, Discovery and Colonization. In 1492, Christopher Columbus arrived in the Americas under the Spanish flag, initiating an era of exploration. Soon after, Spanish, French, and English settlers began claiming parts of the continent. By the 1600s, England had established colonies along the eastern seaboard, including Jamestown in Virginia, the first permanent English settlement in 1607. These colonies became economic hubs, exporting tobacco, cotton, and other goods. However, life was not easy. Settlers faced harsh winters, disease, and conflicts with Native American tribes. Despite the challenges, the colonies thrived and grew more independent over time. Segment 3, the American Revolution. By the mid-18th century, tension between the British Crown and the American colonies reached a breaking point. High taxes like the infamous Stamp Act and a lack of representation in British Parliament sparked widespread anger. The colonies wanted autonomy, and in 1776, they declared independence, with the iconic Declaration of Independence, drafted by Thomas Jefferson. This was not just a symbolic act, it led to a grueling war with Britain. Led by figures like George Washington, the Continental Army fought against the world's most powerful empire. After 8 years of struggle, the colonies triumphed. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 officially recognized the United States as an independent nation. Segment 4, building a nation. With independence won, America faced the challenge of building a government. In 1787, delegates from the states gathered in Philadelphia to draft the U.S. Constitution, establishing a federal government and guaranteeing fundamental rights. The Constitution became a cornerstone of American democracy, balancing power between the states and the federal government. The first president, George Washington, took office in 1789, setting the tone for the nation's leadership. Early America was a young, ambitious nation eager to expand and define itself. Segment 5, expansion and conflict. The 19th century was a period of rapid growth. Through the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, America doubled in size, acquiring vast territories west of the Mississippi River. This period of westward expansion, driven by the belief in manifest destiny, a promised opportunity, but also brought significant conflict. Native American tribes were forcibly removed from their lands, culminating in tragedies like the Trail of Tears. Meanwhile, the issue of slavery divided the country as it expanded, laying the groundwork for future conflict. Segment 6, the Civil War and Reconstruction. By the 1860s, tensions over slavery and states' rights boiled over. In 1861, the Civil War erupted between the Northern Union states and the Southern Confederate States. The war, one of the bloodiest in American history, lasted 4 years. Under President Abraham Lincoln's leadership, the Union emerged victorious, and slavery was abolished with the 13th Amendment. However, the war left the South in ruins, and the nation deeply divided. The Reconstruction era attempted to rebuild the South and integrate freed slaves into society, but progress was slow and met with resistance. Segment 7, industrialization and global influence. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, America experienced an industrial boom. Railroads, steel, and factories transformed the economy, turning the U.S. into a global economic powerhouse. Cities grew, and waves of immigrants arrived, seeking the American dream. In the 20th century, America's role on the world stage grew even larger. It played pivotal roles in World War I and World War II, emerging as a superpower after helping defeat the Axis powers in 1945. The post-war era saw unprecedented economic growth and technological innovation, including the moon landing in 1969. Segment 8, the Civil Rights Era and Modern Challenges. The mid-20th century brought another revolution, the fight for civil rights. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X championed the cause of racial equality. Their efforts led to landmark legislation, such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed segregation and discrimination. In the decades that followed, America continued to evolve. From the digital revolution to cultural movements, it became a leader in innovation, education, and global diplomacy. However, challenges like political polarization, economic inequality, and climate change remain pressing issues for the nation today. The history of America is a story of resilience, ambition, and reinvention. It's a history that teaches us about the power of unity and the importance of confronting our flaws to build a better future. If this story inspired you, don't let it end here. Dive deeper into history, learn more about the people and events that shape the world and carry their lessons with you. Subscribe to our channel, share this video with friends, and join us next time as we explore more incredible stories from around the globe. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring the world's rich history. See you in the next episode.